Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about slurred bowing or slurred bows. Now, I always feel that slurred bowing is the difference between taking your playing to be kind of quite basic and quite kind of beginnery, quite amateury, if you want to put it like that, to taking it to the next level. So slurred bowing is actually taken from lesson 18 in my 1 to 30 violin course. So my 1 to 30 violin course is 30 violin lessons that guarantee to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player. My course is guaranteed. So many of you have done my course, and I know so many of you have been getting on really, really well with the course and like it. But the first 10 lessons are absolutely free. The first 10 lessons get you off and going. I'll put a link to those underneath, and all the resources and everything that you need to get started with those 1 to 10 lessons will be available there as well. So in this video, I'm just taking lesson 18 from tutorial book 2, and this is where we're talking about slurring. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about slurring and what it is, but what it really how it really matters, how it kind of translates to you. Why do you need to know about slurring? What does it do? What difference does it make? Now, when you play something completely in separate bows, so every note has a bow to it, then, you know, that's okay. And that's exactly what I would expect a beginner to be doing. And I don't really teach slurred bowings myself until someone has got just, you know, a little bit more advanced, just a little bit further from the basics, because I feel like there are so many other things that you need to be focusing on. You need to be focusing on getting your fingers in the right place on, you know, on the violin here. If you don't get the fingers in the right place, then your intonation's going to be off. You need to have the bow in the right place. You don't want to be bowing like this, having the bow. You need to get the bow grip sorted and everything. There are so many other things that one needs to focus on before you start moving on to slurred bowing. Slurred bowing is actually quite difficult, but let me just show you what I mean actually by slurred bowing, because a lot of you are probably going, huh? Don't know, haven't got a clue. So this would be, let me just play a D major scale, just randomly a D major scale. And I'll just play it with separate bows. That's just a plain old D major scale. So this would be slurred. So that's 2 notes to a bow. You can slur 3 notes to a bow. So the point is slurred bowing means that you are playing more than 1 note to every bow. So 2 notes or more to 1 bow stroke. So normally, as you're a beginner, you would just be taught, including me, just to play everything 1 note to a bow. Now, the difference between that and slurred bowing, I'll give you just an example in a minute so you can hear the difference, is that when you are playing things with separate bows, it's fine, it's easier. It sounds a little bit too detached. You cannot group the notes together. You can't smooth the notes. You can't make the transition from 1 note to the next sound really nice unless you are slurring them. So, or unless you are putting more than 1 note to a bow. Let me just show you an example. I'll play it without any slurs, then I'll play the same piece with slurs, and you can sort of hear, you'll be able to hear the difference then. So, this is a piece on page 34. So lesson 18, actually, the slurred bowing begins on page 36 in that book. But go back a page to page 34. There's a piece called Barcarolle, Tales of Hoffmann by Offenbach. Now I'm going to play a little bit of this without any slurring, and then I'm going to play it again with slurring, and you will hear the difference. Okay, you do not realise how difficult that is to not play that slurred bow. So used to playing everything in kind of slurred bows. It's very difficult to unslur everything, to be honest. So I'm going to play this now with slurred bows so you can hear the difference. Do you hear the difference there? It sounds a lot more smoother and a lot more connected. Let me see if I'm clever enough and my brain can switch between the two easily enough. Let me see if I can play some of it slurred and some of it separate. So each little section, I'll kind of intertwine them now so you can hear the difference. So I'll put up on the screen whether I'm playing slurred or separate bows, just for your reference. So when it's separate bows, there's no connection between the notes because you're not leading on to the next note. The difference between is that when I play separate bows, you can hear there's a stop. There's no sound in between each bows. There's no sound in between this one. No sound. No sound. No sound. Do you see? So even if I put that together, it's harder to hear because it's obviously in real time, but were I to slow this video down, there would be an ever so slight kind of gap in noise where I had to stop the bow before I moved back up again. So when you are going, so obviously that's a little bit of an exaggeration there, but when I'm playing two notes to a bow, so because my bow was still moving when I moved my finger from an F sharp to a G, there was pure sound connected. There obviously is a gap when I'm going from those to this one and these two, or sorry, those three. So there is a gap when I'm changing the bows, but that's the whole point. We want some gaps and we want some smooth connectivity. And how we do that is really just depends on what the music says to us. So if you're looking at page 34 and you've got barcarolle, which is actually probably a really good example, you can see there that the slurs are the ones with the lines there. I can't really quite see here. So you've got the F sharp to G, G to F, and then F, E, G, G, F. So you can see where the slurs are and where the slurs are not. So we don't want everything slurred because we can't do everything slurred in one bow. If we did, it would sort of, let me see how many I can do. So it doesn't work because I've got two G's. So you have to change bows because you can't play the same note twice in one bow. It doesn't kind of work that way. So maybe in other pieces it would, but that's why if I did a scale, So depending on how many notes to a bow, depends on what kind of effect I want to give. But the last one I played there, for example, was separate bows. It's always going to sound a lot more jolty, a lot more disconnected, a lot more rigid, just a lot more effort and a lot more hard work. And that's fine. But my point is that the slurring is going to take your playing to a completely different level, and you can use it to manipulate how you want things to sound. If you're playing something that's really nice and pretty and nice and soft, a lullaby for example, you don't want to be going in there playing everything separate bows. For example, off the top of my head, I think we could make it a little bit more smooth. So there's a slight difference there. So one is going to be a lot softer because you're not getting the harshness of the change of bow. It's almost like when you're going from a down bow to an up bow to a down bow, you get that slight kind of jolt in sound, and that's fine. That's not a fault of the player. That is just what happens on the violin. So the only way to kind of eradicate that is to smooth the bowing. How do you smooth the bowing? You slur the notes together. How many notes do you slur together? You look at the music, and the music will generally tell you. When you get a lot more advanced, when you get to kind of when you get a lot more advanced, some of my level, for example, then we just, sometimes we will look at the slurring on there and we'll do what the music says. Other times, if you know the piece of music, you'll just generally, you'll just know what to do. It'll just be more instinctive. So I'll slur however many notes I feel sounds appropriate for the piece of music. If I was playing a proper high-end, very advanced classical piece of music, then I would do more or less what the music tells me to do, because that has been thought out on a much higher level. So I'm going to do what the composer tells me to do. However, if I want to sneak in a little bit of slurring here and there, nobody's going to tell me off, as long as it is appropriate for the piece that I'm playing. But that's kind of all the way up there, and that's the kind of what you would get to. But slurring, technically, it's very difficult to get used to as a beginner, but I cover that in my book starting in lesson 18, and I tell you all about that. There's a whole page on slurred bows and what you can expect and everything, and then I start teaching you the slurred bows with some of the scales and things, because they're the easiest ones to kind of go through. You would have already have learned some scales previously in the book, so using scales to bring in those slurred bowings is much easier. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this video and a little snippet into what my books are teaching you. I thought it would just be a really good idea to just show some of you what is in my books and what it kind of entails, and really just to demonstrate to you that my books really do what I say they do, and why. And this is how much depth I'm going into, and this is kind of how it is going to relate to you on a day-to-day basis. So all the links to purchase my 1 to 30 violin course will be underneath this video. First 10 lessons are absolutely categorically free. You have absolutely nothing to lose by trying those 1 to 10 lessons, but I know after the 10th lesson you are going to be hooked and you're going to want to carry on with the course. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.